thank you for that welcome. I'm so happy to be in Columbus, Ohio. It's been a few decades ago that I first came here, and then I was running marathons, and you have to maintain yourselves, and you have a wonderful river running right through your city with a running path along it. So I have great memories of running in the morning, first thing before the convention, 2 of them. And then a decade ago, I was asked to come here to be the Grand Marshal of the Pride Parade in Columbus, Ohio. Yay, yay, yay. And riding with me and my husband, Brad, on that float were 2 other heroes of the LGBTQ movement, Stephen Snyder Hill and his hubby, Joshua. Stephen was in the closet and still served in the U.S. military heroically. And I think it's doubly heroically, having been such a great soldier for the United States, while the United States was making it illegal for him to get married. But he was married with his husband, Joshua, when I came here for the Pride Parade. And Brad was with me. In fact, Brad should be somewhere back there. Brad, are you here? Yeah, he was sitting there. I want you to meet him if you haven't met him already.
All right, Brad.
Do you see him? No? Where is he? He came with me backstage, and there.
No, sorry,
that's
no,
not
no,
him.
No, he went around the corner. I think we'll bring him out in a second.
Oh,
okay. I think he's using the facility.
He made me think he was going to be there all the time. But Columbus is a very special place to me, and here I am back doing a convention with all these other shows that are favorites of the people that love Star Trek. And so thank you for the support you've been giving us for almost 60 years. Star Trek is that old. That applause goes back to all of you, because you're the ones that gave us this longevity. I mean, this means live long and prosper, and we have indeed lived long and prospered. And despite the dark, I can pick out the ones that were the original fans. I can tell. I have a way of knowing. Those who have hair, which are white now, I see you. But I see shiny pates too, right there. And you guys were the originals. Another original there. Thank you very much. We appreciate that help. You're the ones that gave us this amazing, phenomenal longevity. And now we have children, the spin-off shows, and some of them are now young enough to be grandchildren, as I'm sure you all have too. So I found that the thing about Star Trek's popularity, longevity, is the fact that you guys proliferate like what are those creatures? Tribbles, and you separate and make more and more and more. So thank you, all generations of Star Trek fans. We owe our longevity to you. Thank you very much.
On behalf of everybody here and myself, want to thank you. Okay, first and foremost, if it wasn't for your peers and castmates in those early days of those hotel Star Trek conventions, we wouldn't be here. Convention culture as we know it, and all this great things, we would not be here without you and your peers and your friends. And thank you for that. Thank you for helping create this scene as it is today.
Well, here I am with all of you, so we thank each other.
Absolutely.
I thank you, and you thank me. We are all grateful people. We are blessed. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I just had one question I just wanted to ask. Was be curious about this. What was it like carrying the Olympic torch?
It was a fabulous experience. We had the Olympics in Los Angeles, and then I hadn't run an Olympics yet. It was Brad that trained me for my first marathon. But back then, I was, there are other generous people. To run the Olympic flame, which was flown from Greece to New York, and the rest of the trip was, the flame was brought by runners every kilometer, and that was a fundraising gimmick as well. If you contributed to the Olympics in Los Angeles, you got to carry the torch for 1 kilometer. And when it came to Los Angeles, Paramount Studios, and Harv Bennett was the producer of Star Trek at that time, were clever marketers, and they made a donation to the Los Angeles Olympics, and they gave me a kilometer to run with this Olympic torch, and I got to keep the torch as well. So it was a heady experience. I've never had that experience ever since, and my running days are now over, and I'm so very grateful for that. But they gave me that torch, leather covered. And so I have a leather-covered Olympic torch, courtesy of Paramount Studios. So thank you, Paramount, and thank you, all fans, that made it possible.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you for indulging my capricious curiosity. I'm going to jump out here and see what these fine people have. Alrighty.
You dropped something.
Oh, yeah, it's my question candy. Whoever asks a question gets a piece. All right, and you go first, so you get 2.
Your way back.
Right, exactly. So, hey, what's your name?
My name is Nick.
What you got, Nick?
It's good to see you again. It's been a long time.
It has.
You were my second convention back in 1989.
I knew you when you had more hair.
Yes.
And less stomach.
Right, and more color. But you've answered all my Star Trek questions over all these years. My question to you is one I don't think anybody's ever asked in an appearance that I've been to with you, and that's about your, how should we call it, socially and racially charged episode of The Twilight Zone?
Oh, that.
Because that was an amazing half hour of television. And I'd like to know, as a Japanese American, how you felt at the time making the episode and what your attitudes are about watching it as an audience member today. Because it's really difficult to watch, but really incredible.
When I got the script and I read it, I was just blown away. It was a terrific acting role, and just 2 characters. Neville Brand, a veteran of the Pacific Theater of the Second World War, and I was a Japanese-American gardener working in the yard, on the yard of this veteran of the Second World War, also from the Pacific Theater. And he sees me working in the yard, and he invites me up. He was up in his attic rummaging through, and we're talking and drinking beer, and things start to come out. And it turns out he was a veteran of the South Pacific Theater of the Second World War, and I was not born yet. I was born, I'm a Japanese American, born after the war. And the conversation continues, and the Twilight Zone moment happens. I either dreamed of or was possessed of something, and I thought my father, who I was born in Hawaii, I thought my father signaled the Japanese planes flying toward Pearl Harbor. And so my character is saddled with that guilt. And Neville Brand, the American GI's, is guilt-stricken too, because he killed a Japanese soldier, and he was carrying an heirloom samurai sword, and he took it. He's not supposed to take those trophies of war, but he brought it back home with him, and he had it up in his attic. Well, to make a long story short, we're both guilt-riddled, and we begin to fight each other verbally initially, and then I grab my the samurai sword that he had, and he finds a stick or something, and we have a fight. Me with a Japanese samurai sword, and he with a stick, and I cut him. We don't know whether he died or not, but I'm guilt-stricken, and I leap out of the attic, so just so that you would all know what we're talking about. And that's the end of the story. Well, it was a wonderful, as you can imagine, acting role for both Neville Brad and me. And I was so fulfilled by that wonderful opportunity. But an organization called the Japanese American Citizens League protested to CBS for that episode, saying that something like that didn't happen. It's historically not true. No Japanese American signaled the Japanese aircraft toward Pearl Harbor. And so to not offend even further, CBS decided not to air that episode alone. And so it became famous as the only episode of Twilight Zone that was aired only once. But after the series was canceled and the age of videos came, CBS decided to start marketing the video. And the videos sold very well too, I'm told. And so that became known by an audience larger than the people that saw it on TV first run. But because of that turmoil when it was first aired on television, it became an historic episode. And when the video came out, then even more people got to see it. And I'm very happy that more people got to see it. I don't think it was an offensive show at all, because historically it's untrue. It was a fabricated story, and anyone who knows the series Twilight Zone, things that happened on the show never happened and never will. Bill Shatner did an episode of Twilight Zone in which he looks out the plane was flying. He looks out the window, and there's or was it Bill himself?
Gremlin.
What?
It was a gremlin.
Gremlin. That's fantastical. Things like that don't happen. So, people all accepted that. But it was too close to the Second World War, and CBS, in its wisdom, decided to not rile up certain Japanese Americans any more than they were, and they held that. So that's the story and the notoriety behind that particular episode.
There you go. Thank you, start out.
Powerful.
Hi, what's your name?
Amy.
Hello, Amy.
Hello. Even though I'm a big Star Trek fan, I'm going somewhere else. As a survivor of or someone that's experienced internment camps, what advice would you have for teachers today that are trying to teach stories like yours?
Are you a teacher?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you.
So I just want to know what I can help, like the youth, to know to not make that happen again.
Well, first of all, I consider teachers to be the pillars of our democracy because teachers produced an informed and educated citizenry. American democracy is dependent on citizens who know about our history, who know the responsibility that they have as citizens, and they actively participate. So thank you to you and all the teachers who produce educated people. And because I was going off on a tangent, I forgot what your question was.
What advice would you have as someone who's experienced internment camps? How should we approach teaching that with the youth and helping them to see things that might start that again, what we need to be aware of?
Well, first of all, we need to teach about what happened during the Second World War to American citizens of Japanese ancestry. We had absolutely nothing to do with Pearl Harbor. We're Americans, just like any other American. We had absolutely nothing to do with it, and what the Twilight Zone dramatized was a fantasy. It was made up. I forgot the point that I wanted to make. Well, I'm still a little saddened to know that there are many Americans still today who don't know that the war hysteria and the racism made this country crazy, and we happen to look just like the people that bombed Pearl Harbor. And on the West Coast, it was where all of our population was. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was a great president, and my father admired him during the 30s when America was in the depth of a horrific economic depression. People were unemployed, many homeless, many hungry, and they were lining up at soup kitchens. And at a time like that, the economy was so low and the spirit of America was broken that the president had to do something to galvanize Americans to bring the economy up. And he said to the people of America, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. But even a great man like Roosevelt was made fearful. He was a fallible human being. When I was a teenager, I had many discussions about our imprisonment with my father. And he used to quote to me Abraham Lincoln's quote from Gettysburg Address. Ours is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. He said, it is a people's democracy. And that's a noble form of government. He had great respect for Roosevelt, who said that. But, he said, America's weakness is in those same words. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people, because we're fallible human beings. We make mistakes. And when we have a horrific bombing, like at Pearl Harbor, and over 2,000 people were killed in that bombing, 8 major battleships were sunk, over 130 aircrafts were destroyed. That fear of the unknown, and it was not known whether we had something to do with it. Roosevelt made a mistake. He got swept up by the war hysteria, and he signed a bill that put 125,000, more than 125,000 Japanese Americans of Japanese ancestry into barbed wire prison camps, 10 of them in some of the most isolated, desolate places in the country. My family was first sent to the farthest east of all the camps in the swamps of southern Arkansas. There were other camps on the, can you imagine the blistering hot desert of Arizona? I mean, it was a killer desert. There were others in the high plains, windswept, bitter cold of Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, Colorado. We were imprisoned there. And interesting enough, today happens to be December 7th. That was the very day that Pearl Harbor was bombed. 84 years, I think, from today, Pearl Harbor happened. And 125,000 plus Japanese Americans on the West Coast were rounded up and put into those camps. I was a 5-year-old kid, and I still remember that first day. It was early May. My father got my brother and me up. We shared a bedroom, and he dressed us hurriedly and told us to play in the living room while he and our mother did some last-minute packing in their bedroom. And our baby sister was in a cradle then. And my brother and I had nothing to do, so we were standing by the front window, just gazing out at the neighborhood, when suddenly we saw 2 soldiers marching up our driveway. They carried rifles with shiny bayonets on them. They stomped up the front porch and with their fists began banging on the door. We were terrified. My father came running out from his bedroom and answered the door, and one of the soldiers pointed his rifle, the bayonet, right at my father's chest. My brother and I stood there petrified. And he said, "Get your family out of this house." My father said, "I need 5 more minutes. My wife's finishing the packing. I got to go and help her." They said 5 minutes. He went back, and the soldier that pointed the bayonet at him followed him, and then he came back with 2 boxes, which he gave one each to me and the other to my brother, and then he went back and got 2 heavy suitcases, and he said, "Follow me," and we followed him out, and we stood on the driveway waiting, and it was some time that we had to wait, and my mother came out, followed by that other soldier that pointed the bayonet, and she had our baby sister in one arm, a huge duffel bag in the other, and tears were streaming down her cheeks. I will never be able to forget that horrible morning. It's just seared into my memory.
Thank you again for
Yes,
that
thank
wonderful
you.
question, and for doing what you do, and any other teachers and educators in here. Please, you get 2. All right, you're welcome. Thank you. A round of applause for that.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. We are just about time, so I'm very sorry. We have to have one more question. Hi, what's your name?
Amanda?
What do you have?
Before you start, I've written 2 books on my childhood imprisonment. One They Called Us Enemy, and some of you have, I obviously read them. You've brought the book for me to sign. And the other one is a children's picture book where I can hit 2 generations, Daddy and Mommy and little Johnny and little Janie. And it'll be the first time that little Bobby and Janie will be learning about that chapter of American history. But the parents, too, might have their curiosity piqued and learn more about it. So I would love to have as many Americans as possible read my books and know about that chapter of American history. It's our history, all our history, the history of America. And it's vitally important that we know our history.
All right, bring us home.
All right, so first off, I want to say thank you for Star Trek, because Star Trek for me is hope, and I just wanted to thank you for bringing that hope to the world. But second, I guess I wanted to ask about Allegiance. Was with everything that you've just talked about, was Allegiance more about, I guess, education or educating the world, or was it more a form of catharsis for you personally, or was it both?
Well, it was both, but because I think all Americans should know about it. And I've written about the internment, but I'm an actor, a person of the theater. And I wanted to do something in my, a result of my education. I have a bachelor's and master's in theater arts from UCLA's Theater Arts Department, and I wanted to do something in theater about my childhood, and so we developed a story, not my family story, but a fictional family story, as a musical for Broadway, and I hope some of you took a flight to New York to see Allegiance on Broadway. Last year, we did it in London for 5 months, and that was so fulfilling. So that I, both as a writer and as an actor and developer of theater, I was able to tell my story so that more Americans would know about that chapter. And incidentally, I've got another book coming out next June, and this is not about my childhood imprisonment. It was another form of imprisonment. I was closeted most of my adult life. I came out at 68, and it's about my life between when I, about 9 or 10, I started to realize I was different in another way. I was attracted to other boys, and so I imprisoned myself in an invisible barbed wire fence until I was 68 years old. So do grab a copy of It Rhymes with Takei, which is the title.
Thank you.
If you pronounce my last name wrong, you won't understand the title at all.
Besides that book, is there any other projects on the horizon you're allowed to share?
Actually, I am toying with another writing project, but I never talk about it until it's much more developed.
Well, we're absolutely looking forward to that. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. GalaxyCon, this was George Takei, that was our time. But before we go,
Love you all.
Before we go, we're going to take a picture of our amazing guest and all of you.